I can't wait because I just love that feeling of, wow, this is what I did. I created this. You know what I mean? I love that feeling when I'm finished and I look back at and look at the wall or look at the project. It's like, wow, I did this. I love that feeling.
Hi, I'm Debra, executive coach, consultant, and founder of Do Better Executive Coaching and Do Better by Design. After years of leading in education and higher ed, often in spaces not built for me, I've turned those lessons into work that supports others, especially women of color who are leading, healing, building businesses, and figuring it out as they go. On this podcast, we keep it real. I sit down with artists, educators, entrepreneurs, and leaders to talk about legacy, healing, leadership, and the courage it takes to take up space without shrinking. This is for those of us who are done waiting for permission to lead differently. If you're ready to lead with heart, live with intention, and take up space with no apologies, you're in the right place. Follow me for leadership gems, world talk, and reminders that you've got this. I've been thinking about this for a while. Moments in time. Last year, I joined a boxing gym, and I thought I was going to go to classes every day. When I signed up, they offered me, as part of my package, to have a coach. And so I'm like, okay. So I signed up for a coach. I met the coach, didn't like the coach, sent an email to be like, yeah, this guy he was not interested in getting to know me. He wasn't interested in me getting to know him. It wasn't good vibes. We didn't gel. I'm paying for it, so I'm going to send an email and say like, no, is there somebody else? So he's like, I think I have somebody for you, and I think that you guys would get along quite well because she also works in education. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me meet this person. So we met, and for a year we would meet every Monday. Or for a year we would meet every Saturday, either 7 o'clock for an hour or 8 o'clock for an hour. And I think we only missed like 6 times throughout the whole year due to holidays or vacation. But it's something that I look forward to every Saturday. Um, Something that I made a priority. And I felt so good because I got moving again. I've been moving my body for so long. And yeah, it was just great. We would have great conversations about books, life, motivation, what's going good in our life, what's been challenging in our life. It felt like therapy, but not. On top of that, I'm also moving my body. Well, I think last month she would message me every Tuesday to talk about Saturday. Still coming? Yeah, I'm still coming. She had reached out to say, hey, you only have 30 minutes left on your packages. I'm like, oh, okay, let me know how I can re-up. And there was a delay in response. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And so she replied, she's like, actually, I'll give you the additional 30 minutes for free, but I'm planning to take the summer off and actually step away from coaching for a while. And I'm like, oh, I remember feeling like, oh gosh, like, is she just feel like we're breaking up, right? Because it's been something constant for the last year. And then I thought about it, like, oh, what a gift for this moment in time that we have had a year together, that she has empowered me to get moving again and get stronger again and learn some boxing techniques, and to exchange like books and stories and just um, positivity. What a gift for this moment in time. So when I met with her that final Saturday, I was like nervous. Like, oh man, like this, it's like the end. And um, but when I walked into the gym, it was still like nothing but love and joy and just such gratitude for this moment in time. And I'm just thinking about how many moments and times do we have, and do we recognize what a gift those moments. People come in and out of our lives for many, many reasons. And I'm blessed to have known her. And that's how I really think about my guests, right? Those moments and times that I have with each of them for an hour, to be in conversation with them, to learn from them. And I'm excited to have this next moment in time with my next guest, for this next episode of Do Better with Debra. So welcome back, because we're about to launch into our next episode, which is one that I'm really excited about, because this guest and his message have been sitting with me ever since I saw a video of him on his Instagram when he was talking to high school students, about his art, which is incredible, but more so about the message that he was giving them, which is don't give up on your dreams. It was simple but deep. It reminded me that it's not just the youth that need to hear it, it's us as adults, because many of us have put our dreams on hold. Mike Norice is a muralist, a portrait artist, and the founder of Artfully United. His work is all over Los Angeles and beyond. Uh, but it's more than what he paints, it's the why he paints that matters. He's reclaiming the race stories. He's reminding Black communities of our brilliance. And he's doing it with power and purpose and joy. This conversation isn't about fluff. It's about legacy, alignment, and choosing to live out what you're called to do without apology. So welcome, Mike Norice, to Do Better with Debra. I've already done the intro, so I've told them all the great things about you.
Oh, great.
So this morning, I woke up. I was supposed to go to Rumble, because I usually go to Rumble in the morning. And I'm like, I actually want to go and see some of the art for myself. Now, I've seen the art at the school that you did the mural for, beautiful. But when we were talking for our pre-meeting, I asked you, what is the most famous one? And you said that the Starbucks is one of the most famous ones, or the one that people go to the most. So I live in Pasadena. So I got up and I drove across to the Starbucks to see it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Thank you.
I took a selfie with it. I actually stopped a guy going in, and I'm like, can you take a picture of me beside it? It is stunning. I also went inside to see the plaque in there. How did that even come about?
It's so crazy how God works, and just one thing connects to another. So let me start how I got to that point. I was doing, I think, the third mural to my Artfully United mural tour, We Are One, in the Imperial Courts projects. And, I just finished that. And, during that time, I'm not sure, I think it was 2018. Yeah, 2018. They were still developing that entire shopping center. It's a new development. And one of the managers over the development was on their way to the location, and she passed by the mural that said, We Are One. And she said, that is really, really cool. It seems like this artist is really tuned in with the community. So she looked up, my information, contacted me, and she called me and she said, would you be interested in doing the main mural to this shopping center, this new development that we're doing right down the street from We Are One? I said, yeah, sure, of course. So I started on that, and I'm literally working on that project, and they're building the Starbucks, right? It's part of the shopping center. So I have the main mural of that shopping center, the Freedom Plaza. And the construction manager comes up to me, sees me painting, And he says, "Hey, we need a muralist for the Starbucks right here. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Sure," you know. So he said, "Okay, yeah, I'm going to recommend to Starbucks that, you be the main muralist." And then Starbucks got my information and they saw, from Watts. I met with like the designer of that Starbucks, and, the head people in Starbucks over there in, where is it, Seattle. And they just love, everything that I do for the community. And they
Oh,
said,
wow.
well, this can't just be just a regular mural. Like we gotta highlight you inside. Let's create the plaque. I designed that plaque. They said design the plaque, put up a write up and everything inside. And there's two murals. There's one at the drive through too. I don't know if you saw that. There's two. And I said, yeah, that'll be great. And we did that, did a nice unveiling. I got awards from the city, I got awards from Starbucks, and they inducted me into the Starbucks art program. And I actually have another Starbucks that I did. It's on Highland and Hollywood and Highland. But that's pretty much how it came about. And, all that came from something that I was just doing for the community, and there's two murals in between that project, but that's how it came about. And, that's pretty much how everything has come about. Like that that project lets me know that people are always watching. So you should always put your best foot forward, make your latest project your best project, and always carry yourself as if, you're on, you want to take this to the next level. Sometimes I run into people and they're always giving excuses for where they're currently at, and you never know who's watching you right now. Where you're at right now should be your best you, or at least you're trying to make it your best you. That's why every project I do, I try to better the last project. So if you like the last project, you know, stay tuned for the next project. So I'm always trying to better myself, take myself to the next level, and just really encourage myself that I can always, I'm doing good, but I always can do better. I'm my biggest critic. I have never completed any works of art, and a lot of people say, "Well, you have a lot of work. How is that possible?" Because there's always something to do. I stop at the level of acceptance of all of my projects. I've never completed any piece of it. Yeah, I can go. Sometimes I'm around my work so much it's frustrating because I'll spend so much time. Okay, this line is it's not blending well, or this color it could be a little bit better. Let me redo this, or his jaw is not it's not conforming how I like it. I think the blur on the eye could be a little bit better. Like I'm always kind of perfect. And this project I just finished, the one in Vegas, I think.
Oh, it's done?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I got the most awards. I've never gotten 6 awards from one project at the same time. That was the biggest, longest project I've ever done. I worked on that project for 9 months.
Oh.
And it was it was different for me because it went back to that mode of just trying to perfect each pillar. And it got to the point to where I was spending too much time, and just trying to perfect that. I just had to just stop. Even, I'll go back and visit it, but I don't want to see it, because if I see it, I was like, oh man, I could have did this better. You know what I mean? Or because I would never really say that, just too much, because people are like, oh, it looks good. Don't be so hard on yourself. But I don't like looking at my art like that. I'll look at it not in admiration or just like, oh, this is dope. I'll look at it for to critique it. And that could be, I don't know if that can be a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not sure.
That's so interesting. You hear so many like actors that will say that they don't watch their own.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yes. And then it gets me, like, you used the word trying to get perfect. I forgot the name that today's theme is, creating your own lane, right?
Oh, wow.
So creating your own lane, a conversation about art, legacy, and choosing purpose. If you're living into your purpose, which you have named that's what you're doing,
Yes.
isn't the art that you create enough?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm learning to accept it, as I get older, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have accepted it, but I'm as I get older, I'm in my mid 40s, still looked at it, thank you. Just learning to accept it and just to accept life, like as it comes to me. And even things that I don't get, I always I learned to accept that, a big project I was looking to get that I didn't get, me and a couple of colleagues of mine. And I just, learned to accept, like, just maybe it wasn't for me. And I'm glad that by the grace of God, I'm at a point to where money isn't an issue. So I'm doing things that I want, not things that, I'm not doing it for money anymore, taking any project, I just need the money. I'm hustling. I need the money. I need the money. Doing work like that, in my opinion, it lowers your integrity. And when your integrity gets pushed to the side, it gets dangerous, because now you are coming out of your character and you're becoming something else just for money. And that is one of those, it's like a cup with a hole in it, it's like not quenching my thirst. You're chasing money. Money is not.
The energy is different, right?
Yeah,
Right.
It's so crazy. Just I know homeless people, and I know people that are millionaires. And I'm friends with them all. And just a level of conversation in talking to the different levels of life, it is very interesting. The homeless people, or the people that quote unquote say they don't, they don't have money, they're always chasing money. They're always busy. They're always, I gotta go get this. I gotta go get the money. You spend your entire life chasing money, and you look back and you're 67 years old, and you look back and you just have a bunch of memories of hustling and struggling and trying to survive life. And you technically were not living life, surviving life. And on the other end, the people that I talk to that are really wealthy, they're doing what they want to do. They're obviously making money, but they slowed it down. They're not really just trying to just be all over the place. I got to get this. I got to this on the side and this on the side. They focused on what God put them here for, and they hone in on that. And I'm talking like 8 hours of sleep. A lot of times, they go to the gym. They're relaxed. You know what I mean? That things are kind of just really slow. The moves that they make are power moves that in turn will make the more money by margin, versus doing all these little quick jobs. You know what I mean? That wears you out.
Yeah.
And I was once, I was homeless too, as a kid. I had no control over that. But the younger me, the teenage me, college me, was the person that was just trying to just get money just anywhere. And you find out that you're burning yourself out chasing money, and you're not getting fulfilled, in any way. And as I get older, I have more time for myself. I'm making the most money I ever had, because I understand, okay, what am I here for? How am I living right now? And it's create art. And It may not be for other people, but everybody has that in them that they have to figure out what is it that you're here for. Hone in on that and figure out what is the business of that, whatever that may be. And your life will be so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to live the rest of my life, making my life easier. The moves I do make are smarter. I have an uncle that told me, work smarter, not harder. But a lot of times in our culture, we're taught to work harder, not smarter. And there's really no, I don't know, just working hard isn't always the way, and there's just got to be a better way, and then because my family was always just working hard, working smart. And I have a very talented family. My family is very artistic. I'm not the only artist in my family. I'm probably the most successful artist, but I'm not the only artist. But we sometimes have just pivoted to chase the money, 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 money. And it's all about your mentality. You change your mentality, you change your action, you change just how you live. And I'm just glad that I found that early on, and that's how I'm living my life.
You're listening to the Do Better with Debra podcast with today's guest, muralist Mike Norice. Make sure to visit dobetterexecutivecoaching.com and learn how you can lean into your power and lead with confidence, purpose, and joy. And now, back to the podcast.
Did your art change once you found that? Right? So we talked about chasing money to the point that you're like, I get to pick who I work with now, right? I'm a coach and I'm a consultant. In the beginning, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take any client, right? And now I'm like, no, I actually don't want any client, right? And so when I choose, they're choosing me and I'm choosing them, right? Because it's energy exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure that I'm giving the best energy and receiving the best energy to provide them the best, right? So my coaching changes. I've noticed that how I consult and coach people is different because now I'm clearer on my purpose, right? So have you noticed your art versus when you were chasing money versus now? Like, is it different?
Of course. Now I'm painting what I want. Before I was chasing money, I was doing logos. It was all about them just, not defining me as an artist, Mike Norice. I was doing what other people wanted me to do. Spider-Man, Mickey, SpongeBob, just whatever you want. Give me $500. I'll paint your room for. You want Mickey Mouse? You want Minnie Mouse? What do you want? And it didn't brand me because I was fulfilling someone else's want of what they wanted as an artist. And once I think, really with the Artfully United tour, like maybe 10 years ago, that's when I started honing in on, I'm gonna start branding myself and painting what I want and then have people come and adhere to me, and now it's kind of, I've created a monopoly because people want my character, Powerful Paul, and I'm the only one that created. So I bet the price of how much, I want to paint him for, and that's it. When you're the only one that can create something and you've branded yourself to where people want that, there's a demand for that. It was, it's sky's the limit because now it's, back in the day when I was painting Spider-Man, any good artist can paint Spider-Man. So you're putting yourself in competition with any good artist. So if they don't like your price, oh, well, I'm just going to go to another guy, and you're still going to get Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I tell people, because I still get those requests, believe it or not, turn them down, all of them. I said, if I cannot sign my name as the creator of this project, I'm not going to do it. I can't sign my name to your logo.
Wow, that's powerful, Mike. Say that again.
If I cannot sign my name to this art, I will not do it.
Mm.
Not original. It's not my work. I did not create Spider-Man. I can paint Spider-Man with my eyes closed, but I didn't create him. So I don't do any artwork that I'm not the designer of, and people respect that because they're seeing the past artwork that I've done. And I incorporate my character, like I said, Powerful Paul, 90% of my work. And now it's gotten to a point where people request, like they just want him. I just left a client yesterday and I did a walkthrough with him. And that's all he wanted. He said, I just want him right here, because he sees him on Kendrick Lamar's shoulders at Tams. He sees him, on the forgiveness sign of Slauson and Western. He sees him inspire on 10 and La Brea. Like he sees him and he's that character of peace, inspiration, and community. And people want to relate or align themselves up with that I've created. They're willing to pay, and I'm very much like strict on who I paint him for. Like what, I'm not just going to paint him for anyone, even if people want him. He has a brand that I'm a level of integrity for himself and a standard that I don't want, to mess that up,
Wow, this is powerful.
Yeah.
So community, dream, inspire, hope. I think there's a mural.
Yeah, the mirror says hope, unity.
Yep.
Keep smiling, dream big. I've done faith. I've done love, honor, harmony, believe.
And when I think about like how I came to know you is watching the video that you did for a school and a mural that you had done and the message that you were giving to those young people, right? To go after their dreams.
Yes.
To continue to find hope, to find out what they're good at. I think it's not a message just for the youth, it's for all of us.
Yes.
I think about all those words, right? Because I was like scrolling through your Instagram. I'm like, what is it that you're trying to put out in the world? Like, what is if we thought about Michael Norice, like, what is it that he's giving us?
I want to give people life, live your life, some people come up to me and say, oh, I want to be just like you. I appreciate that, but be yourself, because when you try to be me, you kind of neglect your inner being, yourself. Even if you're an artist, be you as an artist. Be, your artist. Don't be me, And I want to encourage everyone to be themselves. Find the gift that God has placed in you. God has placed a gift in every single person. And do that. We have, and I'm just speaking from a cultural standpoint, we have allowed people to say, this is what you can do. And this is the only thing that you can be successful in. And we believed it. And there's so many people that are doing so much stuff that that's not even their calling. And they're working so hard every single day of just trying to survive. They're trying to get to zero. Can you imagine spending your life trying to get to zero? You're in negative, just negative. And you spend your entire life just trying to get to zero, above water. Can I just get out of debt? Can I get ahead of the game? Can I get living from day to day? So many people living just check to check. And you got to analyze yourself. Like, what are you doing every day? Sometimes accountability is very important. I had to take accountability for what I was doing wrong. And then once I found that out, it may take some years, I found that out, I started to begin the steps in changing it. Accountability is very important, and God doesn't want any of us to struggle, but sometimes struggle is part of the lesson that God will have us to be at, in order to change. Sometimes we don't ever get it. I always like to use the example of, if I tell you to run down the street or go down the street, what is the best way or the easiest way to do it? Are you going to just pick up and just start running? Are you going to walk, or are you going to use this gift that I gave you, which is a car, or, something I gave it to you? And that's the easiest way to go down the street, is by using the gift that I gave. Using that as like an analogy of how God, and you can get down the street, this street called life, but what is it? A lot of us are literally running down the street, and we're wondering like, why every day? Oh, it's just, let me just come in and self-medicate, or, because you're doing what you hate to do every day for 40 years. I hate this job. Can you imagine? I could not imagine just hating what I do every day. And I voluntarily contribute to my own demise, really. When I'm working on projects, my body and my mind are not communicating, because I'm working. My mind is saying, yeah, you go. But my body is like, wait, you've been painting for 16 hours. It's time to get some rest. And it isn't until I stop that they meet and they align. And then this last project I was doing, every day I was out there in Vegas, 14, 15-hour days. People were coming up to me. They're saying, you're still painting? How are you still painting? Why? And I said, I love painting. Like I really love painting. And that's what I would paint every single day if I could, I love to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When you were talking, and you're smiling, I'm thinking, and I'm like, I haven't seen a mural that has said joy, right? When I think about Black joy, I'm looking at it. You're Black joy.
Yeah.
You're living your purpose.
Yes.
You're listening to the Do Better with Debra podcast with Dr. Debra Y. Griffith and her very special guest, artist and muralist, Mike Norice. If you'd like to take a tour of all of Mike's murals, go to artfullyunited.org/projects, click murals, and find the map and addresses of all the murals to go visit them live. And now, back to Dr. Debra and her conversation with Mike Norice.
So I love the running down the street, and the gift is the car, right?
Yeah.
Like, how did you find out what your gift was, and your purpose? Like, if you were to be telling people to pay attention to what God has given to you and live into that, how did you do that for yourself?
I never did it. Art became so natural for me. I'm talking as natural as it is talking to you right now. I was born an artist. I was drawing since I was 2 years old. It was when I was 5 when I even figured out what an artist was. And at that time, I was like, wow, I've been living half of my life doing this thing, and I didn't even know that everybody couldn't do it. But that's when I started, I would say, kind of cultivating who Mike Norice is today, when I was literally 5 years old. And it was just natural. I started to take art classes, excelling in anything art related in class. I wasn't a great student, to be honest with you. I wasn't like a scholar student. I get awards here and there, but I was always a creator. I was always everything was artistic. I started even customizing my clothes when I was maybe 5th grade, 4th grade, or something like that. Started getting into fashion, customizing it. I always knew I would do some type of art. But I just knew that, as I practiced and sharpened my edges and keep educating myself that I would get to the next level in art. And even with growing up, going to fashion school, I'm still learning. Even today, I'm still learning. You know, I will never get to the point to where I've made it. This is all I need to know. No, I think with everyone, we need to just figure out what do we like to do with the least amount of effort. And usually that's your gift.
Wow.
What do you do in your spare time that you like to do for free? Something, it can be creative. It can be speaking to people. It can be organizing. It can be accounting, money. What is it that you like to do that you find yourself doing that's productive? Other than watching movies but even watching movies, it's like, okay, you could be a critic, you could be a producer, you could be a director, so I think everyone has to ask themselves that hard question. And it gets harder as we get older, because we don't want to face accountability a lot of times. But you really deep down have to find yourself and be honest with yourself. So many of us are lying to ourselves every single day, and we are putting on a mask of just purity and, making themselves think that this is what they're supposed to do. And they're really not doing what they're supposed to do. And you're not excelling in it. You're maintaining, surviving. And that's not what life is about. Your life isn't about, or shouldn't be about, working 40 hours a week, every single week, to at the end of the month, give all your money away for bills. And then you start over the next month. That isn't what life is about. My wife, she sometimes has to tell me, you need to take a break. I don't look at what I do as work. So it's hard for me to take a break, because I cannot wait for my next project, and I have like 5 projects that are waiting on me to whenever I want to start them. I can't wait because I just love that feeling of, wow, this is what I did. I created this. You know what I mean? I love that feeling when I'm finished and I look back and look at the wall, or look at the project. It's like, wow, I did this. I love that feeling. So I don't necessarily look at it as work. So whatever that is within people that they see that this is what I do, that I don't necessarily look at as work, chances are that's your gift. Tap into that and you'll excel in whatever that is, and that's what I want people to get from my story. And just looking at me and what I do, there is no one can look down the resume and see anything else other than art from Mike Norice. You'll excel in whatever that is, and that's what I want people to get from my story. And just looking at me and what I do, there is no one can look down the resume and see anything else other than art from Mike Norice.
You had said when we were speaking before that you've never seen an example of who you are today, right? So if you've never seen an example, how did you do it, right? Like, and how did you keep going? Because in the beginning it's hard, right? You have start, stop. We talked about Spider-Man and SpongeBob, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, who taught you this if there was no examples?
Well, and there still isn't, to be honest with you. I just do what makes me happy. And I don't put too much pressure on myself, because sometimes if I look at other cultures and, I want to be like him, or I could follow the exact same steps and may not get the same result. So as far as me, a Black man creating art, there's a lot more successful Black artists, but I don't necessarily want to be like them as far as their path that they went, their lifestyle that they live, and just the things that they do. I like to just be happy. I like my inner peace. I like giving back to my family, my community. And if that makes me happy, I'm okay with that, and that's what keeps me going, because, and it also makes me feel good that just because I don't have a role model to look directly at doesn't, it makes me feel good that I know that people are looking at me, young Black boys are looking at me and taking notes, you know, um, that's fine with me.
So when we spoke last, you were on your way to France.
Yeah.
Your project in Las Vegas wasn't complete.
Yes.
And I see on your social media you went to Cannes, London, New York, and now the project's done.
Yes.
How are you feeling?
I am feeling very just humbled and honored because I always look back at, here's this, little kid. I'm always this little boy inside, and I always look at when I was 5, 6 years old, collecting cans, 113th Street, going to the recycling center on Imperial and Central just to get food.
Mhm.
And what grounds me, I don't care. I was at Cans literally across the street from Denzel Washington, Spike Lee. We're in the same area for the same type of business, really. And it just, no matter how high I get in my career and what I'm doing, I just try to stay humble, and thank God for just taking me to this level. I would never take any of it for granted, and I'm always just pushing for that next level. And I don't know, it's a really good feeling, and it's still processing. There's always a dot, dot, dot next to all of this because I still, I don't know, I still haven't processed the fact that I was just at Cannes, last week, and I was just receiving these awards. I'm still processing it, and I'm going to another level, going to another project, and I'm still processing that. So it's constant processing, So I really don't see myself retiring to be able to have all these processes catch up to me. And it's like, wow, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to be reminded from other people. It's like, wow, you did this. I did. I forgot about that project.
Yep, you did.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, the biggest project is something that is very impactful, right? You said it's something that most people don't know about. And I would love for people to know about it and go to Vegas to see it. How would you put it into words, and why should we go see it?
Wow. Okay. So this project is one of my most meaningful projects because I educated myself, and I'm sure I will educate everyone that has viewed this project because it unveils the history of the Black community within the Vegas area. I started to timeline 21 structural pillars that I painted to timeline starting in 1870 and it ends in today's time. And I broke down all of the historians that have made Vegas to what it is today from a Black standpoint that are being hidden from us. You got Paul Revere Williams, that great architect. I never knew about this man, but yet whenever I fly anywhere, I see his art because he designed LAX. I never knew that. He designed Frank Sinatra's house. He designed the first middle-class neighborhood for Black people in Vegas. I never knew that. James Gage, he was the lawmaker, mortician. He was a professional golfer. He was the first gold medalist for the 100-yard. He was in the Olympics, and he did so much stuff. All of these every pillar I tried to create for these people was either highlighting what they did or the era of where they did within the timeline. And these people, they were doing 3 or 4 major careers all at once, and that just showed me like, wow, how much we had to work back in the day, like in early 1900s, because of racism, that we would imagine getting hired to perform somewhere and you can't even walk through the front door or the place you're getting hired. Like the racism is like that. I hire you to draw something, but I don't want to sit next to you, but I want your work. So I had to, I'm just giving this as an example. It's not me, but this person Paul, he had to train himself to draw upside down to go across from the tape, because the client didn't want to sit next to him. This is what these people had to endure, just to make a living. It was just crazy. Like Sarah Knight Preddy, you had Miss Vicki Richardson, you had so many people. I don't want to give too many names because it's all historic. It is, unless you're, there's only one person that I know that knows all his names. Her name is Miss Clay T. White. She's a great historian out at UNLV. Had many consultations with her to get the information fact checked and all of that. So she's the only one that I knew that knew about everyone. Everyone else, I didn't know about this. I'm talking about people that were born and raised in Vegas since I was doing the project. They didn't know. No, and Black people, we as a culture have had our hands in so much American history that has been, the skill is there for them to take, but they want to erase us. And I'm glad that Clark County allowed me to create this project. They didn't say do this. I created the concept. I created the design. I did everything. And I wanted this to be right. It's a permanent art structure within the building. And 50 years from now, who knows what the community will look like over there. And they know that, Black men created this. At this time, all of these Black people created this so we can be here today.
So they fly into Vegas and then we go where to see it?
Pearson's Community Center. It's on the North Vegas, the west side of North Vegas. Pearson Community Center. That's where you'll see it.
Amazing. Mike, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
Great day. Thank you again.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Good. That was incredible. Well, talking to somebody that's fully living their purpose. As you could see, his smile when he would talk about how he approaches his work and that it doesn't feel like work. Just joy. Every day living his purpose, but more so being in full joy while doing it. He said something that has really sat with me. He said it when I first met with him, and he said it again today, which is, I've never seen an example of who I am today. And that's so true for so many of us. We have to carve our own way. We have to continue to move through life doing what we are set here to do, which is to choose to live in our purpose, which is uncomfortable, uncertain, and sometimes doesn't feel like we can do it, but we must, because I want to be like him, right? I want to feel like him. I don't want my face to light up like him when he's talking about living his purpose, which is just pure joy. If my story resonated with you, share this episode with somebody who needs to be reminded that dreams aren't dead. They're just waiting for you to say yes. You can find more about Mike at artfullyunited.com. And as always, you can continue to connect with me at Do Better with Debra on Instagram or at dobetterexecutivecoaching.com. Thanks for being here. And remember, you already have everything you need to do better, to live louder, and to live on your own terms. You just have to choose it.
You've been listening to artist, muralist Mike Norice. For more information on Mr. Norice, go to artfullyunited.org or visit him on Instagram or Facebook. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show, leave a rating or review and share it with a friend or colleague. You can find Do Better with Debra on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and coming soon to YouTube.